the main question on everybody's lips was, how is Osho going to drive? Because there's no bridge. And so all kinds of solutions were offered, and this was a major concern. How is Osho going to go on his morning drive and his afternoon drive? He can't get to the main road, to the county road. So, in those next 2-3 days, while people are wondering, they were trying to widen the river to put these great big culverts in place so that the river, and then we could build some new bridges. When Srila asked Bhagwan what to do, we just build another road. So that became a major project. So he said, so whenever there's a flood, we have a road that won't be affected by the flood. So of course it was
makes sense.
Yes, of course it makes sense, but it took months. Now, while that road was being built, the first day, now it's 4 days after.
I lost completely myself.
Okay, but don't worry.
No, we were talking about the nitro story.
The what?
The
We were
nitro.
talking about the nitro story.
The nitrous, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, from there you went to the road somehow.
Yes, this is my first time of seeing him for a dental session.
Yeah.
So there am I, I've got the dental room set up, everything's ready, but I haven't heard from him for months because he's driving every day. Suddenly he can't drive anymore, and I'm on the other side of the river now doing my work, and I get a call on the Motorola, Bhagwan wants a dental session. I'm on the other side of the river. How am I going to cross this river? It's like a roaring torrent. There were some people there who were building a bridge. And I said, how can I get across the river? And they said, well, you have to wait until we finish the bridge. And I said, he wants a dental session now. And they said, well, the only way you can get across the river is you have to wade. I said, wade? You mean walk through the river? So I said, walk through the river? So they all thought it was very funny. There was one on the other side. We threw a rope to this guy. He's got a rope. They're holding it on this side. And I hold on the rope, walking through this river. It's up to my neck. And I had a down jacket on, big boots and things. So when I get to the other side, I'm completely like a drowned rat. And I had to walk 2 miles to get to what we called then B-side, Bhagwan's place where he lived. So as I'm walking, the sound of my boots is like, as I'm walking along there. And as you come into his house, there was a slope, and his room looked down over this sloping drive. I knew through his huge glass windows, he could see me. Now, the sun was reflecting from his window, so I couldn't see him exactly, but I could see his outline as I walked up this slope, looking like this drowned rat, coming into the what was called the mudroom, which was very appropriate at that time. So then I got ready, we came down. When I say we, there was me, Amrito, and Ashu. We went down into this little dental room to get it ready, and then Vivek. And this was the first time we'd used this room. Now, I was excited. I hadn't seen him for dentistry for months, and then next to my head on a cabinet, the top of a cabinet, was a big glass dish, which we were going to put instruments in later. There's a knock on the door. Vivek opened the door. She said, are you ready? So we said, yes. 20 seconds later, as the door handle turns, this big glass dish went crack. It split into 2 halves. Now that's impossible because these glass dishes are meant to be able to be autoclaved, The door opened and there's Osho, smiling. And we greet him, and then he's absolutely intrigued by dentistry. He loved the machinery. So he's there, he's got his hands on his hips, and he's looking around at all this equipment.
So I never saw it before.
Never seen it before.
First moment.
Nothing. First moment. And then he said, what's this and what's this? And I said, this is the X-ray machine, this is the, it was called the truth system, the whole dentistry thing.
The truth.
Truth system. That's why I bought it, because I like the name. And
I just want to like when you read about the nitro that
Yes.
it's good for asthma,
Yes?
then did you discuss this with Osho and
No,
talk about it
no.
in any
I
way?
discussed it with Amrito, and what I knew was I could set up the machinery. I didn't have to use it. So this is what I'm
You
coming
need to
to.
order this stuff, no?
What?
You cannot just go to the pharmacy and buy nitro stuff. Is there any regulations about it?
Yes,
You can
yeah,
just-
of course there's regulations. It's
Yeah.
very strictly controlled. And it's used in every hospital as the basic anesthesia agent.
Yeah.
It underpins all anesthesia, or it used to then, and I'm sure it does still, where they use all kinds of muscle relaxants and this and that, but nitrous oxide is the basic anesthetic agent, or it was for years. It's incredibly safe, beautiful. But in dentistry, I wasn't using it as an anesthetic agent. It had a specific use in dentistry as an analgesia agent, where if you flood the person with 40% oxygen and you use a small amount of nitrous oxide, you enable their body to be completely oxygenated and relaxed. So it's used everywhere in England for dentistry. I used to use it.
In Italy, they use
I
it.
had it with Gandharma and I went off the body.
Yeah, but I don't know how he uses it, but I used to
But
use it.
then, so you spoke to Amrito about it?
I told him that what I'd like to do, I told Amrito, I said, I'd like to be able to use nitrous oxide with Osho because I think it will help his chest.
Yeah.
And so Amrito, and then we did some research, then we got this about it had been used for children. And so we said, well, let's set it up, and if it's okay for him, then we do it. If it's not okay, we won't use it. So when he came into the room and he's looking around and he sees the nitrous oxide device, and he said, what's that? And I said, it's a nitrous oxide delivery system. And he said, what's nitrous oxide? So I said, well, it's commonly called laughing gas. And he said, you want me to laugh? And I said, no, it's only called laughing gas because it relaxes people so they feel very, very at ease in the dentistry. I said, it's got a use for, and has been used in the past for relieving childhood asthma, and I thought it might be useful for you. And he said, well, you have to be very careful with my body. My body is very sensitive. And I said, well, we could just try it if you would like, and we see. And if it's useful, you can tell me, and then we see where we go from there.
You never know what you started.
No, that's exactly right. You see, in that time, I had no idea the effect it would have on him, and the effect was completely unique. I'd used nitrous oxide for years. Now, the effect on him, when I first used it, first of all, we didn't know if the nose mask would be tolerable to him, because every rubber has this kind of smell. I researched like crazy to get this neoprene nose mask so it wouldn't have any smell, and we put special pads around his nose. Anyway, when he first received it, first of all I did my dental examination, my x-rays and stuff, and then he said, you can use he called it nitrous oxide. He said, you can use your nitrous oxide now. So I put it on his nose, and I'm sitting there with a notebook because I want to know if the feedback, and I'm making a note of this percentage of oxygen, this percentage of nitrous oxide. And then he's just breathing normally, and with him, everything was so silent. So there was no sound in that room except for this bag as it's going. It was a most amazing thing. We were like in Osho's, yes, we were in Osho's breathing. And then he started saying things, and he started saying things like, this feels very good for my body. So I make a note of the concentration of this and that, and I write, this feels very good for my body.
You're good for notes.
Yeah. And then he said something else. He said, the feeling I'm getting from this, I have experienced before in meditation, but never with chemistry. Things like this. So I'm writing little sentences down. So after maybe 6 minutes, 7 minutes, he says, enough for today. And then he stands up and he's gone. He namaste and he's gone.
Did you do any tooth work at all?
I did an examination.
Examination.
Yeah.
And the
That
test
was,
with the...
that was my first
Yeah.
examination.
First.
Yeah, that was my first use of nitrous oxide
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if it worked.
You tested, basically.
What?
You tested the nitro
Examination,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I wasn't testing nitro. I was there to do dentistry.
Okay.
But I was using nitrous because I wanted to see if it agreed with his
Okay.
body. So then at the
But
end,
because you didn't do any work at that time.
I did the x-rays, I did the
Okay.
examination. It's,
All
only,
right.
it's
Okay.
only after the examination that you do the work,
Yeah,
because then
okay.
you know what you're going to do.
Yeah. But you work
Yeah,
out.
and then he would leave it to me then to look at the x-rays, and then I would give the information to Vivek, and then Vivek would tell him, and then he would arrange the appointments. So that's what happened. But it was not quite like that, because as we came out, Osho and Rito, who was then called Devageet, and myself, we went up into the support trailer to take off these surgical clothes, and we were always, after a session with Osho, like so high, dancing and laughing, and then suddenly the door opens, Vivek comes in with a face like thunder, and she says, "What were you writing, Devageet?" And I said, "I was just making notes of what Osho said, because it's the first time we've used nitrous oxide, and I was calibrating the dosage with how he said he was feeling." So she said, "I think that's absolutely wrong. You should not write anything, what he says in the dental room." And I said, "Well, nobody reads it. It's only my notes. They're my clinical notes." She said, "I think it's wrong. I'm going to tell him now. You just wait here." So immediately the atmosphere froze, and like half a minute later she comes back and she said, "He wants to see you all now." So we don't know what's going on. So we go walking down this long corridor into his room. Now the room is enormous. It's empty except for one chair and 3 buckets. The buckets were because the roof was leaking. It was pissing down with rain. And all you could hear in that room, because it's totally silent, was blip, plop, blip, plop, blip. It was so bizarre. It was so absolutely zen. He's sitting there in the middle of this vast room. The windows are reflecting the darkness from the outside. And there's this rain coming through the roof. So he said, "Sit down." So we sit. And he then said, "What people know about enlightened masters has always come from the notes of their disciples." He then went on to say, he said, with Buddha, he said the Dhammapada came because all his enlightened disciples got together and they wrote down what they thought he had said. And that is now the root scriptures of the Buddhist tradition. He said that exactly the same thing happened with the Jainas. He said only there Mahavira did not speak, but his enlightened disciples, after each discourse, would get together and they would decide together what he had said, what they agreed with, and that becomes the scriptures according to the Jainas. He said, no enlightened master except Krishnamurti has ever written a book. He said, Ramakrishna only became known because of Vivekananda. He said, Ramana Maharshi only became known because of a journalist, Paul Brunton, who came from the New York Times. And he said, you, Devageet, will be my note taker. It was like, I was completely stunned. I'd come down there. I was expecting some kind of kickback because Vivek was so angry about it. And he said, we will make a beautiful book. For the very first time in the history of humanity, a Buddha will speak from the dental chair. And we will make a beautiful book. And Vivek will take some special photos, intimate photos that nobody has ever seen before. And he said, I will be able to speak to 3 or 4 of my intimate disciples in a way that I cannot speak when I'm in Buddha Hall. He said, when I'm in Buddha Hall, I'm addressing the whole future of humanity. He said, here, in your little dental cabin, Devageet, he said, I can speak in an entirely different way. This book will have a new intimacy. He said, you, Devageet, will be the note taker. You, Devaraj, you will be the editor. And you, Ashu, you will be the typist and the referee. Referee?
Did Vivek made photo then?
Not at that moment. No, no. This was all about...
Yeah, but
she was...
But this was then, you were,
Rajneeshpuram.
you were taking the notes, doing the sentences, and that became...
Yeah, but I'm not there yet.
Not yet.
No, at this moment he's telling me how he wants to create a book from the dental chair.
But it all happened because you were writing just
It
this
all
little thing.
came
Yeah.
because when I'm trying out the nitrous
Yeah, you
oxide,
wrote this
I
little-
wrote 3 sentences.
Yeah, okay.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
And then Vivek said, no, this is not right. And now we're meeting Osho, right?
And he says,
And he's suddenly in a... This is how Osho is. Completely new world opens. You know, Vivek is pointing in that direction, Osho's world is in another direction completely. Amazing. And then he said, I can talk to people in a new and intimate way that I've never spoken before. And then, when he said that Ashu will be the referee, it's like, referee? What does that mean?
yeah,
I had no idea. But as time showed, at first, I have to jump a little to give it some sense.
please.
At first, I took all the notes. The first day, Osho's speaking, he's in the dental chair, I did some dentistry for him. I then said to him, Bhagwan, the dentistry is finished now. And he said, now is my time. And I just sat, and then he gave a little nod, and he began to speak. So then I'm writing down, I've got my head, because he speaks very quietly, and I'm writing down, and then nobody else can hear. Ashu couldn't hear, Vivek couldn't hear, Devaraj couldn't hear. And so when I got back into the room, you know, Devaraj was saying, what did he say? What did he say? And there were small comments, nothing very much, because he was testing it out, he being Osho. And so Devaraj said, we've got to have a system, we've got to be able to record it. We have to record it so that we can check the tape against the notes. I said, yes, great. So we sent a note with Vivek to go to Bhagwan and say, we would like to record it. We can do it by attaching a microphone to the dental light. And when we've done the dentistry, we can bring it level with your mouth. And then with the earphones, Devaraj can hear it, and I can check the tape against the notes. And Osho's message came back, yes, you can record it, but you use the same tape every day, and when it's finished, you destroy the tape. Meaning when the book is finished. So
there would be no record.
no, well,
I mean, audio.
there's no audio, nothing. So now remember the context of that. You know, Sheila's doing a number and Christ, and he said, this is a secret. You tell nobody. Nobody needs to know. I will tell Sheila, but nobody else must know about this book. So again, it's one of those Osho koans, you know. So, because I'm going to be gone from my work for hours while I'm doing my dental work, and how to explain, I don't explain. I didn't explain to anybody. So half the time I'm doing my dental work or the book work, and other times I'm working as a builder or farmer or gardener or whatever else I was doing. So as I started making these notes, because he wanted the tape to be used the next day, they had to be typed immediately. Well, Ashu was busy. She was in the kitchen. I learned to type.
You could not use another tape.
Another?
Another.
No, he said use the same tape.
At the same tape.
Same tape.
You needed to type
Every
it
day.
for hours.
Yes, like this is a master at work. He used that small incident to create a whole... Anyway, so there I am. I'm thinking, well, Ashu's not here. Devageet has gone somewhere else. How am I going to... I learned to type so that I could use the tape. So every
And you
day...
could not tell anybody.
Yeah, and I can't tell anybody. I couldn't ask Sheila to send up another typist or anything. That's absolutely...
No computers at that
No
time.
computers.
Nothing. So there am I, you know, dun, 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 dun. Now, luckily, he didn't speak very much in those early sessions. But it kept me going for hours, and I learned to type. And then, that's how it began. After about 5 or 6 sessions, where he'd been talking about the snow, and about a dog, and about this, and about that, and I could feel he was finding how to use this experience in the dental chair using nitrous oxide to give a view from the point, from the peaks of consciousness that he had. And so, after about 6 sessions, he said, that's the end of this series. Now we begin the next series. Now I'm completely, series? What series? so he said, so the next series is called Om Mani Padme Hum. So he said, the Om Mani Padme Hum is the oldest mantra known to humanity. He said, the seers of ancient Tibet heard the sound of silence, my name, heard the sound of silence, and they tried to capture it in a mantra. And he said, Devageet, I'm going to speak on this, Om Mani Padme Hum, until your concrete skull is cracked. I'm writing.
The concrete skull.
So then
your concrete
skull is cracked. I'd never heard of Om Mani Padme Hum. I didn't know what he's talking about, but I'm just writing my notes. And then, and it developed. He started using these sessions in all kinds of ways, which you could read. You know, it's written in the book. This one book became 3 books. There were so many notes, you know, although he speaks slowly, that mass of notes became divided into, the first book was called Notes of a Madman, which is divided into 2 parts, Notes of a Madman and Om Mani Padme Hum. The second is called Books I Have Loved, because suddenly one day Osho said, I'm now going to speak on all the books that I have found contain an element of truth. I'm going to speak on one book for every year of my birthday, of my life. And I think he was about 54 at the time.
So this book, Books I Have Loved,
yes,
book in the dental room,
yes,
during dental session, and then out.
yes, all of it.
All of it was
Every single thing. Notes of a Madman, Glimpses of a Golden Childhood, Books of I Have Loved. Now, if you recognize the context of that, he's talking under nitrous oxide. It's amazing. Most people under nitrous oxide are unconscious. If I take 2 whiffs of nitrous oxide, already my brains are out the window. He would talk for sometimes 2 hours.
And the levels were always the same or different?
He insisted, maximum.
All the time?
You will see in the
Yeah,
books.
he always had higher.
He says,
Yeah.
Devageet, is this the maximum? And I said, yes, Bhagwan, it's the maximum. He said, you're cheating me. And I said, it's not. He said, I know you're cheating me. You're giggling. You're cheating me. No disciple should cheat his master. That's what I wanted to do. So I would bang and clang on these cylinders.
But you did use the maximum.
I always use the maximum. I use maximum nitrous for him. With that machine, it could only deliver a certain amount, and maximum oxygen. See, that was important.
And you experience as a dentist,
Yes.
other people at that level, how will have reacted?
Other people at that level are out to lunch. No, I'd never seen anybody at that level. Now, it's a dental level. It's not an anesthetic level where people are unconscious. But I'd never seen anybody who even knew the day of the week. when they were using that. And that
Did you ever try anybody at that level before?
No, I would ask them. Let's say I'm doing dentistry on
Okay.
somebody, and I could work for hours, and they wouldn't know that they were having dentistry. They wouldn't know where they are or what's going. Their brains went out the window. Well, you had it.
I went out of the body completely.
Yes, you went. So in this case,
Talk.
what?
I was out of the body.
No, but just understand what he is talking from that out of the body space with such coherence and humor and beauty. It's an amazing thing. But people who read it, first they read the text, and that's beautiful itself, and then they think, oh yes, it's under nitrous oxide, as if nitrous oxide had any effect at all. He was demonstrating.